All right. Welcome back to Smoke and Mirrors, but this time it's different. So this is a new iteration, new creation of Smoke and Mirrors, a splinter of the original trio. And what I really want to do is slow it right down so we can talk about the movies and kind of break them down a bit more. So today I wanted to talk about two new Christmas releases. So they are Soul and Wonder Woman 84 or Wonder Woman 2 or Wonder Woman The Next Generation or Wonder Woman Wishmaster. So getting into Soul. Soul is about Joe Gardner, who is this regular, everyday guy. He's a teacher by day, and he tries to be a musician by night. And he's stuck in a job that he's not as passionate about, or that he thinks, with no real sort of compass and direction in his life. And one day he gets his big break. He auditions for this band that he's a massive fan of in the jazz circuit in New York City. And he gets the gig, amazingly. On his way home, he's so excited. He misses all these other potential dangers and then falls down a sewer and basically dies. He finds himself on this ladder or escalator to the great beyond. It was kind of cool. The imagery is awesome. And you find that he's separated from his body. So his body's still alive, but his soul is not there. And through that, they kind of introduce you to the different layers of the afterworld, the afterlife. Yes. And they also introduce you to the before life. Yeah. And he goes to a staging area where they're getting all the souls ready for the babies, basically new lives that will be joining the world. And it's here that Joe he tries to re-enter his body through that. He teams up with a soul called 22, and then they get transported back to Earth in different bodies. 22 is also the soul that basically can't be matched up or sent to Earth because she doesn't want to be. She doesn't believe in living. And Joe acts as like this mentor for her. So the movie is directed by Pete Docter and Kemp Powers. Kemp Powers' first directorial effort. He's been writing a couple of things, specifically One Night in Miami, which looks freaking awesome. And Pete Docter, who's been part of the Pixar Disney stable for ages, has directed some of the bigger hitters out there. It's written by Pete Docter, Kemp Power as well on the script there, and Mike Jones. We got Jamie Foxx starring as Joe Gardner, Tina Fey as the soul of 22, Graham Norton's in there, the brilliant Rachel House, who has like one of the best voices ever. Alice Braga's in here. We got Questlove. So I didn't expect Questlove to show up, and he is a drummer. So I'm going to give the drummer some love because Questlove was real good in this. Got Angela Bassett, Wes Studi, who I love, and Donnell Rawlings. I wish Dave Chappelle showed up. Donnell Rawlings is in this, which is really, really good. So I want to go into my initial thoughts because I don't want to kind of go, yeah, it was great, and that's it, and show. So let's break it down. So my initial thoughts before I even watched the movie was I thought Joe was going to be a family man. I thought this was really going to sort of lay on why he shouldn't be dead or in the afterlife. And I thought that was how they would kind of ratchet it up. Thought he was like, saddled with a wife and kids and all sorts of things to really make you feel for him. I thought it would all take place in the afterlife, and he was stuck as that soul version of Joe, Soul Glow Joe. And I thought it would be the saddest Pixar movie because of that, and really sort of stacking things up. Because I thought they might go with a kid protagonist to really sort of make it relatable for kids that are going to go see this. It is a Pixar movie after all, so potentially it could have been. But the soul side of him, I think, is kiddie enough. So when I watched the movie, like the key things that I kind of focused on is this movie, I don't think is made for kids. Like they package it up so that it kind of feels like it's a kids movie. It's animated. It's colorful. It's very, very dynamic and like, you know, really kind of draws you in. But the themes, like this could be the most adult Pixar film to date. Like they could have like really sort of pushed this in a different direction, but they sort of like kept it so grounded and family oriented, and it was really, really different. I was actually taken back because it wasn't your usual sort of like cues for soppiness or trying to sort of play your heartstrings as much as it was trying to give you this message. Other people found it cringe, but it was so relatable. And I think more relatable as adults. Like I think this might be the Pixar movie that kids grow with and really kind of go back to after time to kind of, I don't know, like speak to and relate to and kind of get some lessons from. Because on that initial viewing, I'm pretty sure my son took the big themes of dying and coming back, and most of it just probably went straight over his head. The voice talent is amazing. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't Will Smith woos or anything like that. It was straight, like exactly what the scenario called for. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't Jamie Foxx going crazy or anything like that. It was straight, like realism, I found. And Tina Fey was really, really great as this sort of adolescent that I think is reflective of where Joe is in his life and his position as well, his relationship with his mother, and like how he is almost still a kid in a way. He also teaches kids, and they are adolescents as well. So this is almost him coming to grips with the person that he is and what he does, but also I think it's the gateway character to kind of relate to Joe's struggle and see where his passion really is. Questlove's in this too, as I said before. It was actually really surprising, but I love Questlove as a personality. If you've watched Drunk History or you've seen the many sort of YouTube videos that he posts up, him on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and also him in the Roots Band. It's just phenomenal. So to get him showcased in this movie was fucking nuts. We got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who I never would have thought for a movie sort of centered around jazz. It was great to kind of hear what they bring, and it's like every movie that they score and they do is something different. So this is more akin, I think, to Mank, where they kind of tapped into that 1920s swing. This is that a really jazzy kind of vibe to it, but not just jazz. They kind of put a bit of everything in there. And with every movie that they make, it's just this step forward that they take in adding another notch to their belt and getting more creative with it. I love it. I love that they're not just like, in their straight like rock bag or anything like that. So I love the balance between the two of them. Hearing A Tribe Called Quest, so Check the Rhyme plays in this. Unbelievable. I heard the bass line going off and then the melody kicked in. I was like, what the fuck is this? Tribe Called Quest in a Disney movie? Man, and it was Check the Rhyme? It's beautiful. This is like, it's weird. I love hip hop, and my family loves hip hop. So like hearing this is unbelievable. And then Joe takes a trip to his mother's shop, and Erykah Badu's playing Apple Tree. I was like, what the hell is this? This is like unbelievable. So I love the music choices in this movie as well. And I never would have thought that you'd hear Tribe or Erykah Badu in there. It was unbelievable. I loved, like, overall, I loved the message in this movie. And it was definitely centered around not wasting your life, getting out there and really taking a shot at it. Like, it's not about wasting your time searching for a purpose. It's really about like living and making that your priority and taking joy in the little things. It was unbelievable. It didn't feel like usual Pixar movie where they scale it up and the spectacle is massive. They took this huge concept and they scaled it right back. And in doing that, they were able to create concepts out of, I think, really complicated notions for kids. So, for example, when they tackle anxiety and depression, it was unbelievable because they didn't go in there and try to explain what it was. They showed you that there was this monster on the outside and this person that was so antisocial and scary and dark. But on the inside, they were reliving all the painful things that anyone has ever said to them and how these guys slip in and they're on a different mental plane and their soul is hurting. I love this concept. I've never, like, you've seen it in other Pixar movies where it's bullying or you've lost someone and moving on and letting go of things, or dreams not fulfilled, but you've never seen a Pixar movie depict this. And it's how they kind of get that across that I think will really, really sing. And again, like, I didn't think that Pixar would do this. It's very adult. It's very serious. And they don't go into the rest of the spectrum, I guess, of mental health and the impacts of it. They don't go really, really dark with it in terms of suicide and self-harm and alcoholism and drug abuse and addiction. It's very much how it occurs. And it was unbelievable. I won't say unbelievable because I can believe it and you see it, but it was great to see it, if that makes sense. Because I don't see many other kids' movies actually trying to address it like that. So shout out to Pixar for that. This animation, though, is getting really photoreal, specifically in this because it's such a grounded story. It takes place like around New York City, and the things that they do is really, really cool with like, let's say, the textures on things or the way things look. They use real photographs in some instances to showcase people. And it adds a really, really nice touch, a real sort of link to reality. And I don't know if the characters are supposed to be animated very, I want to say cartoonish, but everything else is around them in the world is very realistic to showcase that, this is still a kid's movie, but it's set in this grounded world. Everything looked great, from the afterlife and the great beyond, the starscape that they kind of set up, the individual grass leaves that they kind of set up there as well. In the staging area is crazy too. The color scheme that they use, the monochromatic line animation as well it's really, really great stuff. And changing up that animation style keeps kids, I think, engaged as well, because it's fast moving and it kind of shows you them sort of changing planes, if you will. That's kind of all I had in the breakdown section. I'm really gushing about this movie. But what I want to do is go into why you probably should watch it or why you shouldn't. I don't want to give a rating. A rating, I think, is very subjective to a person's experience with the film. I've seen reviews out there where people are like, I fucking hated this movie. I was cringing all the way through and I just didn't like it. But for me, that ends the conversation with that person straight away. For some reason, it's like you either liked it or you didn't. But what were the things in that conversation, in between those two ends of the spectrum of that rating, that really kind of hit for you or didn't? So why I wouldn't watch this movie? Well, I think there's a lot of concepts in here that potentially, if you're watching this with kids, you could be watching it alone, and that's fine. I think it still holds up as an adult-focused movie. But if you were watching this with kids, those concepts and explaining it to your children or like the impacts of those things would kind of be an uncomfortable conversation. And maybe your kids just aren't ready for that. It's a fairly long movie. So it sits in that hour 40, hour 45 mark. So my son was engaged with the movie and then fell asleep. And he didn't even get to see the payoff at the end, which I think is probably the most important thing. But why I would watch it? Because this is packaged up so perfectly. Disney and Pixar did such a great job in this. Everything hits for me. The culture hits. The animation styles. The concepts. The engagement level that they kind of went through. It wasn't just like paint by numbers, colors, spectacle, and bombastic action. It was really, really grounded. This was aimed at your soul. This is like a soul sniper movie that was just, I think this is the movie that comes along once in a while from Pixar that hits on just a different level. And I'm really gushing about it. So you can tell that I fucking love this movie. And yeah, I don't know. It was the right time to drop this one as well during Christmas. That period where if you were going to watch something together, it should be this, I think. But I'm going to move across to Wonder Woman now. Because Wonder Woman, I felt, was a very different Christmas movie. And not different in the way that Die Hard is a great Christmas movie, and like I can't wait to watch that with my son during Christmas, because I think good conquering evil in the Nakatomi Plaza while terrorists attacked, and John McClane is every man that goes out there and kicks ass, even though he cuts his feet on glass, making fists with his toes. So I'll move across to Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman is Diana Prince, now comfortable with the age that she's living in. She's been through the 40s and lived right up until the 80s and beyond, as you see in Justice League. And in the 80s, we find her in the middle of this complete 80s vibe. And it's so based on excess and craziness. I didn't grow up in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, but it really, really felt like the 80s with its aesthetic and its music choices, the way it depicted ads and malls and different bits and pieces. It was really, really cool. So in short, she's got to stop Maxwell Lord from destroying the world. So he's like sort of basically hopscotching or frog leaping all these leaders and influencers and political giants to grant them their wishes, but also take something from them. So she's got to stop him from destroying the world with wishes. And while Diana gets her wish in an initial interaction with this wish stone that's uncovered, and then we get our introduction to Kristen Wiig's cheetah character. Diana wishes for wishes. No, she doesn't wish for wishes. She wishes for Steve Trevor to return. You don't sort of see what her wish is, but you kind of see him coming back, which is kind of weird. And because she gets the thing that she wishes for the most, she also loses the thing that's most important to her, and that's her powers. And through the course of the movie, she must choose who she wants to be, which it sounds kind of heavy, but I don't believe the execution of it was the greatest. The movie is directed by Patty Jenkins, is always quality. Screenplay is by Patty Jenkins, being extremely not liberal, but she's like just taking a more hands-on approach with this one, I find. We've got Dave Callahan there from Expendables fame, and Jeff Johns, who is like the DC man in DC land, and who's also under, a bit of trepidation because of all the shit that's happened with Ray Fisher. So it's crazy that they actually showcased him in this and he didn't sort of step away from it. Starring Gal Gadot. Chris Pine's in this one, returning back Steve Trevor. We got Kristen Wiig, we got Pedro Pascal, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, and Lucien Perez. So the cast is great. Aaron, so my initial thoughts about this, this is like based off the trailers and what I read and the articles and everything. So I was like, wow, new powers. She's like lassoing and riding the lightning. So I was excited about that because, I want to see them go deeper into the Wonder Woman lore and kind of showcase all that. Right? I was also thinking, how the hell does Steve Trevor get back into the series? He died. So seeing him back around the same age as well, he looked a little bit older, but got a few grays in there, but still looked like Chris Pine in his prime. I was loving the 80s vibe from the trailer. So I think they were playing How Does It Feel? How does it feel? And the bass was fucking cracking. You ever heard like 80s music played that hard since you heard it in Tron Legacy? I wasn't sure how Kristen Wiig was going to pull off cheetah paws, because because it's very different from the roles that you usually see her in. There was some beautiful shots in the trailer. The shot of them going through fireworks while in the jet looked great. And the lightning lasso looked awesome in the trailer as well. You only seen like a little bit of Pedro Pascal, but you loved him from the trailer because of how dynamic he looked. But I didn't know if he was going to be this villain and if he was going to be a badass villain or anything like that. Like we seen in Ares where he was just like a monster sort of thing, but he was a man at the start, or if he was going to be a hero. I was excited to see the invisible jet or not see the invisible jet. And then we seen a glimpse of Diana's armor that she wears. Pardon me, the golden armor, which looked really, really cool with the wings and everything. I was a little bit thrown off because in the trailer, I don't know why they did this, but you see the armor kind of lose the wings and start breaking down. I don't know. But I think my biggest thought was, man, I hope I enjoyed this movie a lot more than the first, because famously, I wasn't a fan of the first. I loved what they were trying to do. I loved the aesthetic of it, but it just felt really, really shallow. So I was really, really hoping. But as we go into the key things that I kind of took away from it, my breakdown, I really didn't. I was hoping to. I was hoping that it would have been like Terminator 2, where it took everything from the first one, basically remade the movie, but made it a lot better. So let me break down my thoughts on it. You might not agree, and that's fine. So Hans Zimmer's score is pretty great. After this dude came back and he was like, yeah, I don't want to do any more superhero movies. The next projects he did were superhero movies. Weirdly, but it was great, right? He ties in a little bit of the other DC movie themes. We hear the theme that's playing when Bruce Wayne's parents are killed in the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition. And the Wonder Woman theme isn't showcased as much. I thought it would be showcased a lot more, actually, but nope. He almost blends it into a new theme. You hear that the drums, dun 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 dun, but you don't hear the violins going off as much. Which, if you see Hans Zimmer live, fucking rocks. So he's almost created this new theme. So that was exciting for me. This next thing might be a little bit controversial, but Gal Gadot is possible as Wonder Woman, but I don't believe her. We don't believe you. For some reason, she just doesn't lose herself in the role that other people kind of do. I don't know if it's just a real far stretch for her to kind of convey the emotion needed, but I feel like there's this barrier between her and the character, and it doesn't come off the right way on screen. The scenes where she's really emotional and crying just didn't sort of hit. It felt like she was using like Vaseline and like, the eye drops and stuff like that. And it didn't seem right. And because she couldn't hit the emotional beats of the movie, it just didn't sell me on the rest of it. I wanted it to. I really, really wanted it to, because there was so much here about sacrifice and being a hero and being true to yourself and self-integrity. It just felt like a lie what she was doing on screen. But she's passable, right? Like the action scene, she kills and executes. But in this movie, there was some real emotional beats that she wasn't able to kind of meet, and was kind of hoping she would. This was crazy for me, but Pedro Pascal kind of steals the show. he outshines everyone in this movie. I don't know if it's just so different from other characters he's played before, but he felt a lot more dynamic. Maybe it's from not seeing his face, and he doesn't talk that much in Mando, that like all of a sudden he's just kind of exploding. But I loved his look. It was very, very different from what he's done before, not from anything else that we've seen. Probably cookie cutter stuff from what we've seen before. But the way that he executes his character was great. I loved it. I loved him trying to be a salesman, trying to be like this big sort of Trumpy kind of out there kind of guy, but then like sort of using that to overshadow where his heart kind of is, and him sort of pushing away his son almost a lot of the time because of greed and excess and more. Chris Pine is great again. Chris Pine's always solid. I love Chris Pine. He doesn't feel like he's phoning it in. I don't know. Maybe if he does an accent, then he'll just completely fuck it up. But right here, he's great. Plays the role well. In this story, he is the fish out of water, which is cool to see. It's not Diana in this movie. In that, like, she, like, you know, was that adventure trope in the first one. In this one, it's Steve. So he's now coming into the 80s from the 40s going, what the fuck? So that was really, really cool to see. And he does it well. Like, it's not the curious as much as it's the excited at the possibilities of, and you can see, and this is probably the good thing, you can see Diana and him's connection, which I really, really liked. But he almost seems too excited and Diana seems too muted. But still, there's some really, really great scenes between them. What I thought was a massive plus about this movie is that it didn't end with this massive superhero battle. There is a set piece at the end, and there is a battle at the end, but the final confrontation is not Wonder Woman versus Monster. It's Wonder Woman versus the thoughts and the promise of excess and greed and human nature, really, as she tries to kind of convince the world of something. So you'll see it when you check it out. I don't want to go too spoilery, just in case you haven't watched it. But while she's kind of having this conversation and convincing people, it just kind of went on a bit too long. I found that I zoned out. I don't know if it's because her voice is so monotone that I kind of just like went, and it just didn't hit for me as much. But again, it's one of those bits where if she had lost herself in the role or maybe was a little bit of a better actor, it would have hit for me. The effects in this movie, I don't think were finished. Weirdly, a lot of it felt really floaty and fake, the effects. The obvious like stunt double facial transfer of the actor looked weird in some bits, especially when they add motion to it. Just or the complete CGI recreation of a real actor, like it didn't feel right. And that's weird considering this movie sat on the shelf for a very, very long time. So I was kind of hoping that we'd get a little bit better quality effects considering. And I think that that sitting on the shelf for so long and you know the delays of 6 to 12 to 18 months really played a factor in my expectations for the movie as well, because I was probably expecting a very, very tight and engaging movie, much more than the one that we got. Because this movie it felt really shallow in some bits. Tonally, it felt a little bit off. The first movie had a lot more heart, I think, and the character arc there played a lot better. This time, it felt like they weren't hitting those emotional beats, and even though there was a lot of emotions in this movie, it didn't kind of get there for me in the end. And I wish it did, because the most emotional character was probably Pedro Pascal's character and his character arc. Because by the end of the movie, we get what his real treasure is, and where his priorities lie. I don't know. Maybe watching Soul first had an impact, but yeah, I'll come back to that. And just kind of thinking about it. So I watched this on HBO Max at home, and I was thinking, if I'd watched this in the cinema, would it have played better for me? Because while it was really, really good watching it at home, because everyone else was watching it at home, the playback of the streaming service was very, very glitchy. There was not enough, I don't know if there was enough server space to actually have that many people watching the movie at the same time, but the movie was shutting down constantly and there was a lot of breaks. Which I don't know if I'd take that, which was very frustrating, over someone on their phone or talking throughout the whole movie. I don't know. What would you choose? Or if you watched it in the cinema and then watched it at home, which way did you enjoy more? Let me know. There was a Linda Carter cameo in this one, which was, I don't know if it was played for laughs or if it's hinting at the next movie or like what it was, but yeah, I think it was more just a wink at the camera, kind of say, hey, remember me? I was Wonder Woman. I don't know. Don't kill me, any Linda Carter fans. I think, overall hoping that they'd go deeper with Diana. It seems like they kind of do that with a lot of the other characters. And in this one, it didn't hit with Gal Gadot's character. I don't know if it's Gal Gadot or what, but like it felt like they've explained a lot of her origins in the first Wonder Woman, but then this just like it was not her movie to kind of explore her a lot more, because she felt very much like a Surface character. She felt very in control, and she wasn't sort of impacted and had to be a hero the whole time. Yeah. Mate, I'm not hating on Gal Gadot. Like, I love the way that she portrays Wonder Woman, but I think like they could utilize things that would get more out of her, maybe. And like they don't need to keep showcasing the kid side of Diana Prince's character, like Diana Prince, like as like when she's younger, I'd love if they related a lot of the flashbacks to Gal Gadot, like have her portray young Diana, not as a child, but like as her in her grown self. That'd be really, really cool. Because there's a lot of things that happen to Diana in this movie. I think that her acceptance was a little bit too easy, and her recovery was really, really quick. She loses her powers in a portion of this movie, or she's starting to lose them, and she doesn't really lose them all the way, which would have been really, really cool to see, in her kind of like struggle with, do I want to be a hero, or do I just want to stay here and live my life with Steve? I don't know. Like she accepted things very, very easily at the end, and she just kind of goes into hero mode straight away. And I don't feel like that baggage is taken with her by the end of the movie in a weird way, or she overcomes it. Maybe I'm just shitting on it, and there were certain things in here that kind of didn't turn me on in other ways. Because I didn't feel like the cheetah fight at the end paid off. And it looked pretty cool, but it was missing something. Like it missed like this emotional kind of feel to it. It just wasn't there. It was like they weren't friends at the start of the movie. Weirdly. Like I would have liked to have seen that emotion more. Because Cheetah doesn't want to give them powers up. And like Diana, like she's like pleading with her. But then by the end of the movie, she's like, oh yeah, I'll give them up. Lied. The way that Wonder Woman moves in this, I don't know if it's just an aesthetic choice, but she was very floaty. Yes, she does pick up like this new power. But it felt like she wasn't really jumping or anything like that. She didn't land. She just kind of like coasted down and then like just like a bird, like just sat down. I don't know. I expected her to kind of like, she breaks through doors and shit like that. It just, or lands really hard, but she just didn't do that. It's like she just like glided in and then she just sat down. I don't know. I don't know if that was an aesthetic choice or not. And then just the whole setup. So it felt like Wishmaster. If you've ever watched Wishmaster, it's such a mad movie, it felt like that. And I expected her to resolve the whole movie by saying, I wish that this person missed this item off the manifest and didn't pick it up when they transported this ancient relic to us, like, you know, on this date. Because that's how Wishmaster is resolved. Spoiler, if you've ever watched Wishmaster. Because, yeah, it just felt weird, this, like, wishes being the thing that sort of make and break the movie. Yeah. So why shouldn't I watch this? I thought it was a shallow movie. Like it just didn't dip into as much adult themes as it could have, considering the weight of the things that they're talking about, and really kind of getting into disconnection with the rest of the world, and really going into themes of excess and greed, and like using that to get over on other people and taking advantage of people, which in the 80s would have been a massive theme considering Reagan and all the shit that went down. And it runs a little long at 2.5 hours. And it kind of drags a little bit in the second act of the movie. And it's very much kind of exploring different themes with Steve. And I don't think it ever really pays off in the end, weirdly. Why I would watch it, the execution of it might not have been the greatest thing, but we're seeing imagery here that's beautiful. Like her swinging on the lightning, the fireworks. I really, really, really like the new suit. Gal Gadot is possible as Wonder Woman. I don't think she can do the emotional scenes just yet, but like I like her in the role. She looks the part. I love that we get a superhero with an accent, and it's not Wonder Woman Americanized. It's great. All the supporting characters are really, really good. And I didn't speak about Kristen Wiig, but she knocks the shit out of the park. Like she really, really sells the transition from being sort of nerdy and not someone that you'd really recognize or like, you know, someone that's not paid attention to someone that kind of is physically like now dominant, and she becomes attractive and charismatic and everything. And I really, really like that. And she sold it. Like Kristen Wiig actually looks all right in this movie, like pretty good. So I really, really liked her transformation as well. It's just her payoff just didn't hit for me. And while I kind of like, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Wonder Woman movies, I find myself like trying to go back and maybe I missed something. Maybe I just didn't get something. Maybe it just didn't feel right, but it just tonally, they just feel off to me. I don't know what it is. So it's like, if you reckon I'm just full of shit, let me know. And I want to sort of talk about who I think the Weekend Warrior is. So, I mean, it's obviously Soul. I thought there was a lot more to chew on with the characters in Soul, and it seemed a lot more grounded and relatable. I love the stakes in Soul. It wasn't about you know, the whole world at stake in this global issue. It was the one man, or the one person that is impact. And I'll take that story over the world-ending Deus Ex Machina any day. And it was definitely like Soul was definitely the movie that we needed at Christmas over Wonder Woman. And I hopefully that's not like, you know, hate or taken as hate, because like it's not. I love that story a lot more. It was a great effort by Pixar, and it's not their best, but it's definitely worthy of the movie that should make the most impact on our kids or younger audience. And like, I don't know if it was being a father and that's my perspective that I'm kind of going on. But those ideals and those lessons are the ones that I want my son to sort of take on. And because of that, I think I just related to it more. And I think that's the thing that was key for me, is the relatability of these movies. It wasn't about the action spectacle. It was about the relation. And Soul had much better characters than Wonder Woman. It's like, like it's funny like that I would choose a kids movie, but it was realer, and both weren't overly flashy, and both weren't a little bit more introspective and in their feelings bag, but one just hit a lot more for me. And I think that's the one that you should check out. Definitely check out both. But my winner this week, one that I relate more to, is definitely Soul. Check it out. Guys, please take care of yourselves. Have a great New Year's Eve. Have a great New Year's. Happy New Year's. From Smoke and Mirrors, from us to you. And love yourself and love movies. And I'll see you next week.